have called that the McKenna method, which seems to me just, you must be nuts to think of it that way. Because I talked to someone, I won't name him, but a great researcher, widely published researcher in psilocybin, and he'd done 80 trips and given it to 25,000 people and so forth. And I said, well, what did you make of the hallucinations? And he said, I never closed my eyes. And I realized, that these guys are just quaking with terror. And a lot of people, the main reason in the 60s, I saw a lot of people who took LSD for one reason only. Committed dose in a shamanic situation, and and now I'm not advising this. This I do not advise, but this is how I do it. I do it alone. I have never understood the obsessive need people have to take drugs in groups. It just makes my flesh crawl. And the only time I've ever been able to do it comfortably was with Amazonian people and Mestizo people where there was a language barrier. But if I take a psychedelic with somebody, then I listen to them breathing, and I hope they're all right, and I get all tangled up with are they all right, and should I say something, should I not say something, and this, and it just turns into this mother-hen thing that I can't stand. And often when I take psychedelics alone, I pass through a place where I say to myself, boy, I'm sure glad there's nobody else here, because I think this would really alarm them. At this point, people would be reaching for 411, and since I can't, it's not going to turn into an embarrassment for me. So I think, committed dose, silent darkness, empty stomach, lay down, shut up, be still. Keeping still, the I Ching says. It's all in keeping still.
Okay, so far to set and setting. And the last thing that I wanted to mention in this context, that from my own experience, there's more than just this set and setting and dosage, which has to do with the cleaning of the gates of, how do you say, Pforten der Wahrnehmung?
Perception, doors of perception.
Doors of perception, because in my own case, and again what I saw with many other people happening, is that if you still have some narcissistic patterns in your system or in your psyche, things, you first of all will have difficulties to stay in a place like you can do that. And what happened to many people is that they either got difficulties to handle that situation and would do all kinds of things that would damage themselves, or if they would go through, they would run around with some kind of omnipotent feelings. I mean, there is serious research being done about the fact that Hitler has taken mescaline and got some of his visions, so not through his dark and deep wounded soul, other than he did.
Well, eventually it becomes an aesthetic question. I mean, the trick with psychedelics, as with life generally, is to be in good taste. I mean, it is not tasteful to vomit on your partner or declare yourself the world messiah. This is embarrassing, and it's happening, but it's inappropriate. I just think, the rules don't change when you take psychedelics. You still, there's no license to be a jerk. The thing about narcissistic hang-ups and stuff like that, usually I just feel that the person hasn't done enough, and that sometimes you really have to clobber people.
Hasn't done enough?
That the dose is insufficient.
That's a good response to. But let me just briefly ask, in terms of your basic question on how, to Terence's suggestion, which centered mostly on dosage and setting factors, practical, down-to-earth physical factors. I would emphasize the factor of intention, i.e. set, more than he has. And to me, actually, intention is the single most important criterion for a productive kind of experience, and Terence is basically assuming a clarity and authenticity of intention, and many people who experiment and dabble in psychedelic drugs, as he was saying, do it for all kinds of reasons, such as being able to say that they've taken it once, or because their friends suggested it, or because they want to be less insecure about their sexual hang-ups or whatever it may be. The intention, if whatever your intention is in going in, the entire flow of the experience will be a response to that. You may not understand what the hell it means, or what the significance really is, and that's your challenge then to try to figure out, and that may take you years and months. That's why for some people one psychedelic session was in fact enough. Not because they were afraid to repeat it, quite the contrary. That was the thing that connected them to their source of, they got their instructions, and they can live with that the rest of their lives. Other people make a specialty of exploring various other areas and exploring the possibilities of tools and applying them in various contexts, such as healing or creativity. I also feel that in a way we're in a much more experimental age, and that ties back than the traditional shamanic societies were. What I personally lean towards testing out and working as much as possible with the tried and true ways, not because they're shamanic, but because they've been tried. They have in fact worked. They've demonstrated their ability, but that does not preclude the possibility that there may be new ways of working with these medicines that are still have integrity in relationship to the basic evolutionary purpose of how you're approaching it, but that may be completely new. Such as, for example, and that could apply even to equally to synthetics or semi-synthetics like LSD or plant substances, to use them in combination with techniques of yoga, with techniques of birth. I personally know of many instances where these breathing techniques, or known as the name of rebirthing, have been very effectively combined with low doses of MDMA, where the MDMA adds a kind of a catalyst, making that kind of technique much more effective, or conversely, during an MDMA experience where a person gets stuck in a certain way, then using a breathing technique that they've already learned to dislodge them from that stuck place. So I think the possibilities of also I think the thing Terence says about the totally committed dose, the full trip, yes. I think there are also possibilities of low dose kinds of experiences that allow a certain different kind of entry and access to the other worlds, not as radical, not instead of, or not that one is better than the other, but it's another dimension. I feel about these plants that they are allies. They're tools, but they're more than tools, because along with the tool comes a living intelligence, someone that you can respect and communicate with, and so it's more appropriate to call it an ally in your work, in our work of fostering the evolutionary process on this planet. And so the only reason I continue to work with it is because I've encountered the allies. Unexpected. I didn't know that when I was in graduate school, much less even undergraduate or college or high school, that I would one day be working with teaching plants that can tell us about what it is like to be a human being and what the proper role of human beings on this earth is, and what we are to do. Nothing could have been further from my imagination. And yet it's presented, and I've come to accept the arrival of a new tool or a new ally, such as one of these plants, as a sign almost that I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track. Suddenly you meet somebody who's like a powerful guy, say, hey, I know where you're going, I know how you're trying to get there, and this will help you. I say, thank you very much. Respect and honor that. And try to understand as much of what's going on, knowing that we'll never know everything there is to know. There are things that, the interesting distinction, Terence was talking about the mystery, and I think this is the key to it. It's being open to the mystery and maintaining our openness to the mystery. If we close ourselves off to the mystery, if we have answers, we're lost, we're dead. Or as punk gangsters now say to one another, "Your history, man." Right? They've done something that's offensive to them. This is the insult. "Your history, man."